Sure, why not? Ladies and gentlemen, the Square Scrambler 5000. Because I would very much like my YouTube channel to remain monetized.
Alright, so I beat Ninja Gaiden 1 and almost lost my sanity in the process. So naturally, the only logical thing to do is to drive straight into Ninja Gaiden 2. Because apparently, I have no concern for my heart health. Since this is a story-driven trilogy, and yes, the Ninja Gaiden NES trilogy was one of the very first game series to use fully cinematic storytelling, the plot actually matters. I went into more detail in my Ninja Gaiden 1 review, but to summarize, this series basically invented the idea of cutscenes on consoles. So if you haven't played the first game, and don't know what the story is so far, well, I guess you can go play the first game. Or better yet, watch my video on the first game. It's healthier for you. Trust me. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's start with the opening cutscene. Well, by the looks of things, we're off to a strong start. The game picks up 1 year after the events of the first game, and right away, I noticed something new. The act screens now have pictures of Irene on them. Yeah, I should probably let you know that she's actually very important to the story. Apparently, despite them only meeting like 3 times in the first game, Ryu and Irene are still together. Good for them. They must have something in common besides trauma. Anyway, the game itself opens on the rooftops, and honestly, I like this level. It's a great warm-up, and the new mechanics are shown off immediately. In the first game, you could only jump back and forth between walls. Now you can actually climb up and down them. It's an instant improvement. I love this. There's also a new power-up. The Shadow Clone. Pick up the orb and boom, a ghost Ryu follows your movements and copies your attacks. I freaking love this power-up, and the fact that you can stack multiple of them and get multiple clones, beautiful. peak game design. Running through the buildings, slicing enemies, experimenting with the new mechanics, I'm actually having fun. Like, actual fun. Maybe this game won't be so bad. The first game was an absolute nightmare, but this one might be alright if it keeps this up. You fight the first boss pretty quickly, and he goes down fast. He's definitely harder than Ninja Gaiden 1's first boss, but not by much. Overall, great level, great mechanics, it's a strong start. Let's see if this game can keep this up. So after you beat the first boss, we get a cutscene with Ryu wondering why all these guys are coming after him. Then suddenly, a mysterious trench coat man appears. This dude tells Ryu, go to the Tower of Laja. I think I'm saying that right. If you want to save the girl. Ryu immediately goes, you mean Irene? Yes, Ryu, the only girl you know. Of course it's gonna be Irene. Before Ryu can ask who this guy is, the man literally shoots someone behind him and then disappears like Batman. But he leaves Ryu with a cryptic message. You are the only one who can beat them. Hurry. So Ryu's basically like, alright, Tower of Laja it is. And just like that, boom, Act 1 is done. Now we're off to stage 2, which opens on a train. Everything seems fine until, oh man, those birds! Those mother birds! They're back! The same demon spawn that ruined my life in Ninja Gaiden 1. But okay, it's just a few. Maybe this game is kinder. The train section is easy enough, but then Ryu jumps off and suddenly we're in a windy mountain area. And I mean windy. I didn't know what was going on at first, but I kept trying to make this one jump, and every time, Ryu would not make the jump. He would just fall off. Why? Because this level has a gimmick. Alternating wind currents that literally push you forward or backwards. And the wind seems to change randomly. So if you get hit and the wind decides to flip directions at that exact moment, congratulations, you're going off a cliff. I looked it up, and it takes about 60 to 70 mile per hour winds to push back a 200-pound man, which is the average weight for an adult male. So apparently, this level is experiencing hurricane-level wind gusts on a sunny day. Sure, why not? Eventually, you reach the boss, and this guy's entire strategy is jump between two platforms and throw tarantulas. That's it. I mean, if you're arachnophobic, I'm sure he's an absolute nightmare. But I beat him on my second try. He was also pathetically easy. After Ryu beats the tarantula guy, he starts asking questions. And the tarantula guy basically says, we're tribesmen from the world of chaos, led by Ashtar, Emperor of Darkness. So now Ryu's got a name, Ashtar, and apparently Ashtar wants him dead. Cool. We then get a shot of Ryu looking off towards a mountain and seeing a distant tower. Okay, this story is definitely far more fast-paced than the first game's story, but I'm kind of liking it so far. I'm actually very curious to see what this world of chaos is and who this Ashtar is. I bet it's going to be some really awesome lore. Alright, so now we get to level 3, and this is the moment where Ninja Gaiden 2 finally decides to stop being polite and to start being Ninja Gaiden again. You know what's funny? There isn't a single damn bird in this entire level. Well, unless you count bats as birds, but there's not even that many of them. But you know what is everywhere? Fire whatever these things are! I don't know their official name, so I'm calling them annoying little fire. They're slower than the birds, but somehow harder to hit. And they love to spawn at the worst possible places. But the real star of the level is the gimmick at the start of it. In the first section of level 3, it's so dark you can't see jack squat. So you have to wait for the lightning to flash so you can see where the platforms are. Most of the time, this isn't too bad, until you reach the platforms that are the size of freaking Pop-Tarts. Like, who designed this? Who said, yeah, let's make the player jump across platforms that are basically coasters in pitch black darkness? After dying an absurd amount of times, I discovered something hilarious, and I'm 99% sure this was not intentional. If you pause the game, everything freezes, except the weather. The lightning still flashes, so you can literally pause the game, wait for the lightning to light up the platforms, and plan your jump like you're playing a turn-based game. The developers either didn't think of this, or this bug waltzed right past Q&A like, don't mind me, I'm helping the players. Either way, it's a lifesaver, and honestly, if the game's gonna throw me into a pitch black death maze with fire, I'm gonna use every loophole I can find. Then we get to the second half of level 3, which is honestly way easier than the first. Not easy, because this is still Ninja Gaiden, and these games really hate joy. But it is still easier than the first half. You fight your way up the tower, deal with some birds trying to knock you into bottomless pits, and there are a few Tecmo placed this enemy here just to be rude moments, but overall, it's manageable. Then you reach the boss, and I beat him on my second try. You guessed it, it wasn't too hard. I recognized his pattern and hit him when he's open. Boom, he's gone. Then the next cutscene shows up, and after you beat the boss, Ryu finally finds Irene. But the reunion lasts about 3 seconds before Ashtar appears out of nowhere, like he's been waiting for this moment off stage for a while, and immediately blasts Ryu with a sword beam and starts talking trash, basically saying, hard to believe you beat Jakui, weakling. Ryu recognizes the sword, Ashtar calls him a weakling, and it looks like he's about to finish him off. Irene screams, Ashtar raises his blade, and suddenly a gunshot hits from behind. The mysterious man from earlier shows up again, gun in hand, and tells Ashtar to surrender because the entire tower is surrounded. Yeah, turns out this guy's name is Robert, and it turns out he's with the United States Special Forces. Yes, apparently the US military is now involved in this plot. Ashtar just laughs, grabs Irene, and disappears into something called the Maze of Darkness. Ryu talks to Robert for a second and finds out that the sword that Ashtar was using is called the Sword of Chaos, and it was made from a demon's bone. Much how Ryu's sword was made from a dragon's fang. So, cool lore there, and that's where the game gets its title, the Sword of Chaos. Awesome. Also, if I were Ryu, I'll be a little bit more hesitant to work with the US military after, the CIA tried to kill us in the last game. But, that's just me. Anyway, the act ends and Ryu chases after Ashtar into the Maze of Darkness. Next up is the Maze of Darkness, and honestly, this place is wild. The first half of the level looks like we took a wrong turn and ended up in literal hell. Because, yeah, this is what I imagine hell looking like, except the fire would be blue because of burning sulfur. Then, halfway through the level, the whole vibe changes, and suddenly you're in this weird water temple meets underground plumbing system area. There are fountains of water pouring everywhere, and the gimmick here is the water affects your movement. If you walk against the flow, it slows you down. If you walk with the flow, it speeds you up. And if you try to climb a wall with water pouring down it, it pushes you down. It's not too punishing, but it's a neat little mechanic that gives the level some personality. Then you reach the boss, and I didn't know what I was even looking at first. It's just a giant face in the wall with two hands that swipe at you. That's it. That's the whole fight. And the hands follow the most predictable pattern imaginable. It took me all of 20 seconds to figure out a strategy to take this thing down. First, avoid the hand as it comes at you by jumping to the other side of the arena. Get onto a platform, slash the face once or twice, jump down, and repeat the cycle. It's a pathetically easy boss fight. Like, what is it with Ninja Gaiden 2's bosses? The first game's bosses, after the first one, at least tried to kill you. These guys feel like warm-ups. Anyway, after that, we get another cutscene, where Ryu starts wondering what Ashtar is really after. Then Ashtar's voice echoes through the area, taunting him. He's basically saying, "Come out and fight or the girl dies." Classic villain move. Irene yells for Ryu not to do it, but Ryu yells back, "Show yourself, or are you too much of a coward?" Ashtar then starts laughing because of course he does. And Ryu ends the scene determined to save Irene, no matter what. Alright, before we continue, you're probably expecting me to say, trailer time, and drop yet another Nova Rebellion trailer on you. I mean, I've been advertising that game like it owes me money. But surprise, I actually have a new game coming out this July. And that's the ad I'm dropping on you today. I've got bills to pay, so it's ad time. Here's the trailer for Myths and Monsters. Alright, so where were we? Oh yeah, we were about to start level 5. So, at level 5, Ryu is still chasing after Ashtar. And the first half of the level isn't anything special. Just your standard Ninja Gaiden is hard as hell package deal. Fire everywhere, spikes everywhere, enemies placed in spots that feel like personal attacks. You know, the usual. Though halfway through the level, we get a cutscene. Ashtar starts monologuing like he's auditioning for the role of Demon King number 3 in a fantasy anime. He talks about releasing darkness, immortal blood, the power of almighty evil, yada yada yada, basically the whole end of the world prophecy starter kit. He's convinced that once this prophecy kicks in, the earth will fall into shadow and demons will rule forever. And he's laughing the whole time, like he just read spoilers for the final and loved them. Meanwhile, Ryu is sprinting after him, yelling, "I'll get you, Ashtar." And here's the part that gets me. How are they talking to each other? Is Ashtar just yelling this over his shoulder while running away from Ryu? Is he projecting his voice telepathically like some kind of Bluetooth speaker? The game doesn't explain. They're just having a conversation while one of them is in mid-sprint. Anyway, then we hit the second part of level 5. And oh boy, the floor is ice. I hate this level. I died so many times on this level. The birds are back. The enemy placement is... And the slippery floor makes every platform feel like a slip and slide. This level drove me insane. And before we move on, I just have to ask, why are we on ice now? We were literally in a fiery hell pit like 5 minutes ago. Now suddenly there's an ocean behind us, snow's everywhere, and Ryu is platforming through the Arctic like he took the wrong turn at Albuquerque? Did we teleport? Is the cave system just this freaking big? Is this secretly the Ninja Gaiden 2 theme park? I don't know. But I'm chalking it up to video game logic, because I genuinely have no idea where the hell we are anymore. Anyway, after the ice level, we get another cutscene. Ryu finally corners Ashtar and demands he shows himself. Ashtar steps out of the shadows, moves aside, and reveals Irene. Ryu and Irene call out to each other, and then Ashtar immediately stabs her in the back. Yes, on the NES, with visible blood dripping off the sword. I have no idea how this got past the Nintendo censors in the 90s. Actually, no, I do know. The Nintendo censors probably couldn't make it past the ice level. So they just never got to this part in the game. Also, Robert shows up again and tries to intervene with the whole Ashtar thing, but Ashtar just blasts him with a Chaos Sword laser. Ryu tells Robert to take care of Irene, and then the Dragon Sword starts glowing. As Ryu prepares to fight Ashtar, Ashtar mocks him and says Ryu's hatred makes him weak, and the two finally square off. And now, based on every boss so far, you'd have think Ashtar would be another pushover, right? He teleports around, fires a few fireballs, and leaves a window for you to hit him. Sounds simple, right? Wrong! This fight is brutal. His teleporting is unpredictable. His fireballs come from every single god angle, and the window to land a hit on him is very small. Also, if you lose all your lives, you gotta go back to the very beginning of the ice level. All of it. If I wasn't playing this game for YouTube, I would have quit this game at this point. It is brutal. Anyway, after the fight, Ashtar collapses and warns that the force of darkness is about to awaken. The Sword of Chaos disappears, and Ashtar fades out with one last dramatic villain speech. Ryu rushes to save Irene, who somehow is still alive despite being stabbed with a demon sword. She tells him that there's an altar up ahead that he has to destroy. Ryu doesn't want to leave her, but she insists that he's the only one who can stop what's coming. Robert shows up again, and Ryu tells him to get Irene out of there. Robert agrees, and then Ryu calls Robert his friend. Which, you two are friends now? Excuse me, how many times have you two met? 2, why are you trusting the United States government after they tried to kill you in the last game? Also, for those who are saying, but Irene was former CIA. Yes, but she refused her orders to kill Ryu. So, she gets a pass. Honestly, come to think of it, the idea of Ryu and Robert being friends in this situation isn't absurd. I mean, Irene and Ryu got together despite only seeing each other 3 times and ended up in a romantic relationship before Ryu even knew Irene's name. So yeah, the idea of Ryu seeing Robert a handful of times and calling him a friend isn't completely absurd. At least in the context of Ninja Gaiden. Next up, we get level 6, which is surprisingly short, and honestly, I absolutely love the first half of the stage. You're running through a massive underground cavern, and inside it are these ancient, half-buried castles, and the parallax effect lets you walk behind the castle walls, so Ryu disappears into the shadows. It's kind of hard to describe, but it looks incredible for an NES game. Easily one of the coolest visuals in the entire game. It's a little tough, but compared to the rest of Ninja Gaiden 2, it's practically a vacation. You beat this section and get a cutscene, and I love this shot of Ryu staring off towards the giant temple. It's legitimately cinematic. So after Ryu spots the temple in the distance, we get to see what Robert and Irene are up to. And it looks like, I can't tell if they're trying to run away from the Maze of Darkness, or if they're trying to catch up with Ryu. It's hard to tell. Then suddenly, this ominous star appears. Irene freaks out, and Robert is confused. And then a dark figure appears. And yeah, it looks like Jakui is back. Because apparently, dying in Ninja Gaiden is more of a suggestion than a rule. Kinda like Marvel Comics. After that, we cut back to Ryu and get to do the last stretch of level 6, which is basically just a straight line of enemies leading to the boss. And the boss is the frogs. Again, the mother frogs! Come on! Of all the bosses to bring back, you bring back the frogs! If you didn't see my Ninja Gaiden 1 review, here's the deal. These 2 frogs jump around, they shoot projectiles, and only one of them can be damaged. But they look identical. And then I mentioned that both of them can hurt you. It's awful. But this time, I refused to suffer. I looked up the channel You Can Beat Games, which I highly recommend checking out if you play old NES games. and found a trick. You can jump over this wall, crouch in the corner, and the frogs literally can't touch you. Just mash the attack button, and eventually the real frog will hop into range of your sword and explode. It takes a minute of damaging the frogs, but it works. After beating the frogs, Ryu realizes he fought this creature before, which confirms Jacuio's involvement. Then he finds Robert, who's badly injured. Robert tells him the bad news. They've got Irene. Robert also explains that if the Gate of Darkness opens, the tribe from the Dark World will invade and destroy humanity. Yeah, no kidding, Sherlock. Before they can talk more enemies start approaching. Robert insists on staying behind to hold them off. Ryu doesn't want to leave him, but Robert pushes him forward, telling him, "You're the only one who can stop their plan. Go." And then he gives an absolutely bad line. Wait a second. I can't say bad. Well, I guess that's just a side effect of the Square Scrambler 5000. Anyway, Robert's line is, "No one ever gets past old Jungle Rat Rob." Which raises a question. How did he get that nickname? Look, if I had to guess, he probably fought in Vietnam, and that's how he got the nickname. I don't think it's ever confirmed in the game, but it fits way too well. Now we get to the final level, level 7, and I have no idea what this place is supposed to be. The first half looks like some kind of bio-organic nightmare. There's a waterfall behind you, except it looks like slime or acid or... You know what? I don't even want to think about it. And of course, the level is hard as all get out. Birds are everywhere. Enemies are placed specifically to ruin your day. It's Ninja Gaiden 2. What did you expect? The second half of the level is even weirder. There are beating hearts in the walls, and the background looks like flesh? How did this get past Nintendo's censors? You know what? Never mind. After surviving this weird fever dream of a level, we reach the boss room. And then Ryu finds a strange altar and calls out for Irene. She warns him to watch out. It's him. Ryu asks who she means, and then a familiar laugh echoes through the room. It's Jakui. Yes, he's alive. Again. He explained that the power of evil never dies, and after your battle in the first game, the spirit of evil flowed into his body and resurrected him. He also explains that Jakui you fought before was basically a pawn. For the real evil is waking up now. And then he drops this big bombshell. Irene's life force is going to be used to summon the demons. But not on Ryu's watch, because now it's boss time. And let me tell you, this version of Jakui sucks. He's actually harder than the original. He flies around the room, throws fireballs everywhere, and the timing to hit him is microscopic. It's miserable. I beat him barely, through pure dumb luck. Then the cutscene continues. Ryu rushes to Irene. Lucky for us, she's still alive. She tells him to destroy the altar, and then Jakui's blood drips onto the Sword of Chaos. And the sword awakens. Irene screams, lightning flashes, and the Gate of Darkness opens behind them. Ryu holds Irene as she collapses, and for a moment, it looks like she's gone. Then Jakui's hand twitches in the blood. Seriously, how did all this blood get past Nintendo's censors? Like, wow, there's a whole lot of blood in this game. He then rises again, But now, he's transformed into a full demon. And now you have to fight another boss. And here's the worst part. You don't get your health refilled. Not even a little. If you die, it's all the way back to the halfway point of level 7. But this time, I didn't get angry. Because I pulled out the ultimate anti-gamer slayer move. It's game genie time, you stupid mother game. Put in codes for infinite magic, infinite lives, invincibility. Was this game once one of the hardest games on the NES and the hardest games I ever played? Correct. Is it now? Not anymore. Behold, as I make this game my bit. Alright, big whatever the heck you are, let's see how you like me now! After the second phase of the boss, Ryu wonders if it's finally over. But the demon twitches again, and Ryu wonders how he's supposed to fight something like this. Then the dragon sword starts glowing. Ryu calls out for his father and the Dragon Clan for strength, and delivers the final line. Taste the true power of the dragon sword. Well, yeah. That demon is definitely going to taste the power of the dragon sword. But it's also going to taste the power of my game, genie! And after the boss is down, the Chaos Sword shatters, the Gate of Darkness closes, and Ryu holds Irene in his arms, screaming her name. Then the temple starts collapsing. And collapsing. And collapsing. Dadgum, this castle takes forever to fall apart. It's like the world's slowest demolition project. Anyway, after we're done watching this castle eventually destroy, Ryu carries Irene to safety. He thinks she's gone. He starts apologizing and says none of the demon slaying matters anymore. Then the dragon sword starts to glow again. It turns into a ball of light and enters Irene's body. She wakes up. Ryu is stunned. Irene says she feels like she's been dreaming for a long time. Ryu tells her it's all over. The darkness is gone. Then Irene asks the big question. The part about you and I? Isn't it? Ryu says yes. Don't know what part about you and I she's talking about, but okay, we'll roll with it. Then they look at the sunset together. Ryu says the world will stay beautiful, like this, forever. And all I can say is, the world's gonna stay like this forever, huh? Is anyone gonna explain to them that there's a Ninja Gaiden 3? So that finishes out my Ninja Gaiden 2 review and playthrough. And look, gameplay-wise, I dislike both these games. They're way too hard, way too punishing, and way too committed to ruining my blood pressure. But story-wise, they're honestly not bad. I still think the first game's story is better than the second game's. It's tighter, more focused, and for the time, the more I think about it, the more I realize it does seem like a true cinematic experience on the NES. Like, honestly, I think Ninja Gaiden 1's story could most certainly be turned into a movie, and it would come out pretty good. However, Ninja Gaiden 2 introduces some cool ideas, like the World of Chaos and the whole Dark Tribe mythology, but it never hits the same emotional punch as the original Ninja Gaiden 1. So, the stories are okay, the gameplay sucks, and I'm never coming back to either of these games. Unfortunately, I still have one more to play through. Seriously, why did I choose to play this trilogy? Oh right, because my buddy Jared loves these games. This might be the worst mistake I've ever made on YouTube. Some of these bosses took me hours to take down. There's no save function on original hardware. So that means if you're playing the game on the original NES, you have to beat it all in one sitting. Thankfully, I was playing on an emulator, so I could save at the start of a level and go somewhere else and come back the next day and resume my progress. But I cannot imagine playing these games on the original NES. It must have been a nightmare. And by the way, this is coming from someone who beat Ghosts and Goblins twice in one sitting. And even I had to use save states here on Ninja Gaiden 2. That's how brutal these games are. But if you grew up with any of the Ninja Gaiden games, or you have memories of suffering through them like I did, I would love to hear your stories. Leave them in the comments down below. As for me, I guess it's time for me to start my Ninja Gaiden 3 playthrough. And pray I don't lose my sanity in the process. If you liked the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. This is Troy Schultz, the Anti-Gamer Slayer, signing off!